So you don't want to think about it anymore, but your brain keeps dragging you back into it. The future, the fear, the mistakes, the uncertainty, the what if. Well, that's a big one. The thing you said, the thing you didn't say, the thing you feel like you should have said. And somehow your brain treats every thought like it's an emergency. So now you're mentally exhausted, but still thinking, overthinking. That's the trap of overthinking. A lot of overthinking is really the brain trying to create certainty in an uncertain world, but certainty is not usually reality. Life is full of uncertainty, so we have to adjust. I'm Dr. William July, a psychologist who talks real talk. And in this video, I'm going to show you 2 ways to get yourself out of those brain loops. These are automatic negative thoughts, and they just make things worse. So let's get into it. Let's move. Overthinking is usually not your brain trying to do you in or beat you up. It's your brain really trying to protect you. The problem is that it gets stuck in that protection mode, which is looking out for you and watching for danger. So instead of solving the problem, it keeps replaying problems to keep you alert and to keep you on guard and to help you not get into a bad situation. So here's what's happening. Your brain is constantly out there scanning for things like danger, for things like mistakes, for being rejected, for embarrassment, for uncertainty. And when something emotionally important happens, your brain acts like, well, if I think about this long enough, maybe I can prevent pain. But instead of creating clarity, the loop creates anxiety. You see, that's what's happening. So your nervous system starts treating the thought like it's an emergency. You go on full red alert when maybe you don't need to. So now your body gets activated. It becomes somatic. Tension, adrenaline, increased alertness, racing thoughts. And the brain is saying, see, look, I told you this must be really important. So it thinks more and it doubles down. That's why overthinking feeds on itself. And it's a loop. It's a storm that feeds on itself and gets stronger and stronger. Here's the loop that most people don't notice. Something triggers uncertainty. So maybe your brain starts analyzing. You temporarily feel like you're doing something productive by this analyzing, by this overanalyzing. But you never actually really resolve anything. You don't resolve the emotional discomfort for sure. So your brain goes back into analytical mode. That's why people can think about the same thing for hours and hours or spiral around for days. Sometimes this cycle even can go on for years, not because people are weak or not because they're necessarily irrational, but because the brain has more or less accidentally learned that thinking equals control. But excessive thinking often becomes like avoidance. You're mentally circling, but not coming in for the landing. So let's talk about 2 automatic negative thoughts that might help you understanding why this happens, and you can avoid these negative thoughts. You can diffuse them. Fortune telling, number 1. Your brain is predicting disaster before it happens. Something bad is coming, is what you're thinking. This is gonna fail. They probably hate me in there in that room. I'm gonna mess this up. So your brain starts reacting to an imagined future, but like it's already real. And that creates anxiety, which creates more thinking. Here's number 2, mind reading. You assume that you know what other people are thinking, and it's usually something negative. They think I'm stupid. They think that I sound funny. They probably feel upset with me. Meanwhile, you don't really actually know what they're thinking. Probably not thinking what you think they are thinking. Your brain is filling in the blanks with negatives. And once your brain believes the threat is real, the loop keeps spinning. Now let's talk about how to interrupt this loop. How do we cut this loop? Here's one of the fastest ways to interrupt overthinking. Stop asking, what if? Now you start asking, what evidence do I actually have right now? What evidence is there really truly that supports this negative thinking. The question forces the brain out of the emotional prediction and back into observable reality. Second, give your brain some action. Give it something to do, because the brain calms down more from movement and activation than it does from this rumination. Maybe some little small action breaks. If you have to write an email, go ahead and start that email. If you have to, maybe go out and go for a walk if you can. Set some boundaries with your brain. Overthinking loves stillness. Get up and do some movement. A lot of overthinking is really the brain trying to create certainty in an uncertain world, as I said before. But certainty is not always available. Sometimes peace comes from accepting. I have enough information to move forward. Not every thought deserves a full investigation or full credibility. And not every fear is a warning. Sometimes it's just falling back into that loop.